Yes, it starts with the Siva Torah. Okay, we're holding the first column. He cited a Chazal, a Medrash. It's a Medrash Shir Hashirim. Ma she'osa chochma at Torah l'rosho. We'll start from there. What wisdom does, which is the crown for the head, osa ad nova ekev l'siluso. That's what humility does. It's the heel on the soul. Ma she'osa ha'chochma at Torah l'rosho shenemar. What does it mean? That chochma is the crown of one's head. Shenemar reishis chochma yiras Hashem. What is the beginning? What is the foundation for chochma? Yiras Hashem. Osa anova ekev l'shalisa. Shenema ekev anova yiras Hashem. What is the ekev, which he explained before? What is the heel of anova? It's yiras Hashem. So he explained what did that mean. Howard, the conversation low. Howard's back. Okay. See, he explained earlier that the only way a person can have yiras Hashem, you have to be naturally humble. If you're humble, then you see Hashem. If you're totally consumed with yourself, then you don't see Hashem. He explained that just as when you walk, the heel follows the body, identically, what follows a sense of lowliness within a person, yiras Hashem. How does one come to yiras Shamayim? Right? It's through chokhmah, through wisdom. An amoritz cannot be a chosid. Because he's a bur, he's uncouth. He doesn't begin understanding. We see wisdom is something, an exalted level. It's like they say, one time we talk about, today they use it because unfortunately it's so uncommon. They call it sage wisdom. You ever hear the expression, sage wisdom? You got to have to be a sage to have wisdom. And one time people, he may have not been the genius, but he was a wise man. People were wise. Today, people, geniuses. The amount of money they could make is, they have no wisdom. Totally. Devoid of wisdom, they have no relevance to wisdom. So chokhmah, if a person has chokhmah, he's able to come to yiras Shamayim. Shemizeh tirki achokhmi madrege umal elyono shal yidei yodo magi odom liras Shamayim. Through chokhmah you come to yiras Shamayim. Ki aidei chokhmah maka odom es oloso. As a result of your wisdom, you recognize your origin. V'yori miponov, and therefore you have fear for him, you revere him. V'dov zein tzorch rayo. Pirish reishis chokhmah yiras Hashem. Ratzlomi ki yiras Hashem reishis lechokhmah. What does that mean? It means rosh l'cho shemina chokhmah magia la madrega sheyose elyona, from mina chokhmah. If you have chokhmah, you're able to advance even to a higher level than chokhmah. What is that? Hani yiras Hashem yizborach she reishis rosh chokhmah. That is the source of what. That is the ultimate level of chokhmah. Reishis chokhmah. What's reishis chokhmah? The ultimate of chokhmah is to achieve yiras Shamayim. That's reishis normally is explained. The beginning of chokhmah, right? Reishis chokhmah is yiras Hashem. That's the beginning. He's learned reishis means the ultimate objective of goal of chokhmah, achievement of chokhmah is yiras Shamayim. Vayiro hi okev la novo, klomar kasher hu bala novo. A person who's naturally humble. Yevshelu ye yori shamayim. It's not possible not to be yori shamayim. People are naturally humble. I'll give you an example. So a person who's naturally humble, He sees a person has a need. He notices the person's need. A person who's not humble, a person can be starving in the street, the person doesn't even notice it. I mean, he sees the man is starving. Yeah, he sees his hands. It's totally irrelevant to him. So what is that? So that a person has humility, you notice many things. You have to, you just gloss over it. It's totally irrelevant. So therefore, what is the Ekev Anova? Ekev Anova is Yiras Hashem. That a person who's truly humble, he has relevance to Yiras Hashem. You notice it. You think about things. Otherwise, you don't think about many things. Like there's an attitude, who cares? It's irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? Because it's irrelevant. What relevance does it have to my life? Hear this? A person can be wise and you could not be Yorei Elokim. Why? Because a person has tremendous intelligence, but he's not humble. If he's not humble, he will not have Yiras Shamayim. But if a person's humble, he will have Yiras Shamayim. We're talking about a person who believes in God. We're not talking about a person who doesn't believe in God.
Well, why did they defend against the child?
Put it this way. A person can be humble, but that person's level of Yiras Shamayim will be at a less level than a person who's humble and is also smart, has Chokhmah. If you have Chokhmah, you achieve another level. I'll give you an example. Gedolei Yisrael, let's talk about Rav Moshe Feinstein. Okay? His level of genius was, I'm telling you, if you ever heard him speak or you see the way he writes, his recall, his breadth and depth of understanding was all the great so-called geniuses, they pale in his presence. And his level of humility and consideration and givingness was unbelievable. Why? More than another person's Yiras Shamayim. His Yiras Shamayim was phenomenal. As he was a genius in Torah, his genius was employed within his Yiras Shamayim. Why? Because he was humble. He was a humble man. You could have that genius, and you're an arrogant son of a gun. I mean, that's what you are. Has two different things. Lahavdil. You have Einstein, but he was known for his Yiras Shamayim. No, he was full of himself. That he could conduct himself the way he did, or the way he looked. That was the eccentric genius. Once told over a story. There was a person, initially he was a Talmud of Reb Chaim Brisker, Chaim Soloveitchik. Chaim Soloveitchik's genius was one of a kind. And then afterwards, he left Reb Chaim, became irreligious, and became a protege of Einstein. Became a world-renowned physicist. So they asked him, who had a greater mind, Reb Chaim Brisker or Einstein? That's the question they asked. So, not that his evaluation was correct. I mean, he himself was well satisfied. He said that Reb Chaim's instantaneous understanding was something which Einstein did not compare to Reb Chaim. In a moment, Reb Chaim had it at a level which was nothing comparable to. But if you would work on it for a while, Einstein was more correct than Reb Chaim. That's what he said. Now the question is, what's correctness? That's a whole different discussion now. That's based on your values of what's correct, what's right, or what's not right. We're not talking about figuring out a mathematical, whatever it is, question and coming up with a solution. We're not talking about that. But that was his evaluation of Reb Chaim versus Einstein. You find people are phenomenally brilliant. They have no Yiras Shamayim. But factually, one who has Chokhmah, it really is a prerequisite to come upon Yiras Shamayim. The pinnacle of Chokhmah is that if you utilize it, you achieve Yiras Shamayim. He says, but it doesn't have to be. You could have wisdom. You could have great intellectual capacity, but it doesn't have to be. The end result doesn't have to be you're going to achieve Yiras Shamayim. Ki hachochmi hachono besulam shal yodam agil Yerushalayim. He says that wisdom or intelligence, IQ, is a prerequisite, and it's the ladder that you ascend to Yerushalayim. Because efshe sheyishoyer omid besulam v'lo yagil l'mayla yiro. You know, people, they scale the ladder, they climb the ladder, and they get stuck at a certain rung. They can't go beyond that rung. They never get to the top. Al kasher odom balanovo. But he says, but a person has two things. He has chokhmah, and he has humility. Who mashbil atzmo, and he lowers himself. And he will lower himself before his creator. He will recognize his deficiencies, his inadequacies. When a person is able to recognize his lowliness and he's needy, how needy he is, then you come to Yerushalayim. Yeah, Hashem's the provider at every level. There's a Pirusha. I remember I once somebody once asked me to speak in Scarsdale a number of years ago. And this person was it was his person's house. He invited his partner over who wasn't raised observant. And his wife was a Beis Yaakov girl. She wasn't religious. You know, traditional, not religious. But she went to Beis Yaakov, even Beis Yaakov seminary. She grew up in Borough Park. Today, this woman must be about 60. It was before Rosh Hashanah. So they spoke about certain things. And she says, afterwards, she says, you know, it doesn't resonate with me. That's the way she used the term. So I looked at her. I said, do you think it really makes a difference if it resonates with you? It doesn't resonate with you. Who do you think you are? I mean, I didn't say those words. It doesn't resonate. You know? There was a story that I once said over Stowe, Rabbi Sosalanter. Sosalanter was very involved, besides being the Gadol Hador, and being the genius of the generation, the orator of the generation, he was into Kiruv in a very strong way. And he fought the Haskalah movement. And the Haskalah was very strong in Vilna. And there was a certain family he really had tremendous influence on. And there were times he traveled. He went to Germany, he went to France. And he was away for a few years. He comes back to Vilna, and he visits the family. Immediately he knows this. They slept seriously. And their daughter, sent his daughter to what they call gymnasium, which was considered a secular school. And the father says to his daughter, to Rabbi Yisrael, he says, my daughter, you know, she's a violinist, and she just won the award for being the best violinist in the whole region. You know, I'm very proud of my daughter. So Rabbi Yisrael says, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm very proud of your daughter. Okay, didn't say anything. The daughter comes in, she must have been about 17 years old. It's like, you know, every Russian running around with a violin case. She comes in, and that's the way they came off the plane, with the violin case. And she comes in, so Rabbi Yisrael says to her, he says, I heard you just won the award for being such a violinist. You know, maybe you could show me how well you play. So she says to him, do you think I have to prove myself to you? It's already known. I have the certificate. It's known. I don't have to play for you to show you how good I am. Of course, it was a disrespectful remark. So didn't say anything. So the father comes in, and he says, you know, you told me how well your daughter plays. I wanted to hear how well she plays. And I asked her, could you show me how well you play? She says she doesn't have to prove herself to me. So he says to the father, father says, well, it's true, she doesn't, because it's known. So Rabbi Yisrael says to the father, he says, let me ask you a question. Do you think God has to prove himself that he exists? Do you think God has to prove himself that he split the sea for you? Who do you think you are? As your daughter said to me, do I have to prove myself to you? Because I know who I am. I don't have to prove myself. Do you think God has to prove himself to you to tell you who he is, that he split the sea and he brought the 10 plagues on Egypt and did all this? Who do you think you are? That's what Yisrael said to the person. So it doesn't resonate with him. You hear this? Of course, you live in a $1 million house. It doesn't resonate. Who cares who? You know, in 2 seconds, the house could what? Could cave in, or whatever it is. Doesn't make, but you know, it's the arrogance. So what do you need for Yerushalayim? You need the humility. If you have humility, then we can talk about Yerushalayim. Okay. I saved it especially for Yossi, and it was coming Wednesday morning. So that's a real Hasidic story, you know. Okay.